Hello students, welcome to physics class. Myself is Mr. Sanaullah Khan, NCMS Java. Today we are going to take our topic integral calculus. Okay. Last lecture we have discussed about the differentiation and its application. Now we are going to see the topic integration or integral calculus. What do we understand by it? Okay. So suppose that if we are been given velocity v is equal to 2t square plus t, and if we are asked to find out the acceleration. Okay. So what do? We differentiate this velocity with respect to time t. dv by dt, rate of change in velocity with respect to time t, then d by dt of this we can get d by dt of 2t square plus t. So the answer will get that 2t into 2t, that is 4t, and 4t plus 1. This will be the acceleration. So we get acceleration A is equal to dv by dt, rate of change in velocity with respect to time, is equal to 4t plus 1. If we are asked to find out the velocity from acceleration, then what do? In that case, if we are asked to determine if acceleration is given to us, suppose that acceleration A is equal to 4t plus 1 is given to us, and if we are asked to determine the velocity from the acceleration, then what do? In that case, we can solve this problem by using the integration. Okay. So this acceleration velocity can be determined from acceleration by using the integration process, that is A is equal to dv by dt, and we can write this as dv is equal to, what is the result is here, 4t plus 1, dv is equal to 4t plus 1 into dt, and when we integrate it we can get the velocity from the acceleration. Okay. So what does it mean? That it means that this process, integration process, it is the inverse process of differentiation. Okay. Integration is the inverse process of differentiation. In differentiation, we have taken out the derivative from the function. Okay. So integration is the inverse process of differentiation. We take out function from the given derivative in this process. Okay. In differentiation, what do we get? In differentiation we get the derivative, we find the derivative from the function, but now here what do we get? If derivative is given to us, we can get the function f of x from the given derivative. It means that integration is the inverse process of differentiation. Okay. It is the process of summation also. It is the process of summation. How it is the process of summation? Okay. So let us see one example. Suppose that if we have taken graph here, it increases in vertical axis, y axis, height in this particular graph is shown by y, okay, and the distance is shown by x in horizontal axis. This is supposed to be origin here. If we are asked to find out the area under the slope of this graph, then what do? We can take out the area under the slope of this graph by using just directly by formula. Okay. Area can be taken out by using area under the slope of graph can be taken out by using the formula of this figure. This figure is supposed to be trapezium. We can apply the formula of trapezium and we can determine the area of trapezium. So in this particular case, we can get the area easily by applying the formula of a particular symbol, particular figure here. Okay, if trapezium is there, we apply the formula for the trapezium, half into sum of the parallel sides into altitude, and we can get the area in this case. Suppose that if we are asked to determine the area, such type of graph is given to us and the line curve is given to us here. This curve is given to us. Suppose this curve line is given to us, and if we are asked to determine the area in this particular condition, then what do we do? This is supposed to be limit x1 and this is supposed to be x2. Okay. Okay. How do we find out the area in this case, since curve line is there? So, under this case, what do we do? In order to determine the area in this type of case, we divide this particular part into small fraction equal parts in width wise we divide this into very small parts from x1 to x2. This is a small strip I consider, and this small strip I consider as dx. Dx is a small strip, okay, its width. So, dx up to x2, from x1 to x2. We divide this particular part from x1 to x2 in equal dx part, small equal parts. Okay. After dividing this from x1 to x2 dx, what do? We first suppose that determine the area of this particular one strip. So, one strip here, the height wise there may be difference in the height. Okay, y1, y2, y3, y4 up to yn. If n terms are there, n parts are there, it will be n. Okay, so first area of this small strip can be considered as area is equal to length into width, that is y. If I consider y1, then y1 into dx, we can get the area of a single strip here. But if we are asked to determine the area from here to here, complete area under the slope of, under this graph, okay, then what do we see? That we have to add this area y1, y2, y3, y4, y up to yn into dx, okay, because dx is common, dx is equal here, okay, equal parts. So, we can get the area of complete graph. Total area will be, total area can be determined by y1 dx plus y2 dx dash up to, if n parts are there, dx n parts are there from x1 to x2, we write yn dx. We get the total area in this case from x1 to x2. Okay, how do we write this? Since 1 to n we are taking parts here, we can write this case sigma I is equal to 1 to n yi dx. The total area in this particular graph we can get here, sigma I is equal to 1 to n yi dx. Y means from 1 to n, okay, dx. In this way we can get the total area. But we cannot write this in this case of integration process sigma symbol here, okay. We use the symbol of integration as elongated s. This is the symbol of integration, elongated s, okay. Now, in order to overcome this strip, the terms, this curve of this strips, we cannot use the symbol, okay, because here there may be difference in curves in each case from here to here. This is strips, if we start strip number 1 from here, the curves there may be difference in curve of, okay, tips of the curves here. In order to overcome this problem, we use this, we can determine the total area in this particular graph by using the integration process, integration from x1 to x2 and y dx. We can integrate this, okay, by using from x1 to x2, we add all the terms, all the areas from x1 to x2, we can get the total area under this graph, okay. In this way, it means that this process, integration process, it is the process of summation. We are adding the small areas from x1 to x2 to get the total area of this graph. Okay, so integration is the inverse process of differentiation. In integration, we can take out function from the given derivative. In integration is the process of summation. We can find out the summation like this in this case, okay, by using this symbol. That's why we require this integration process. x1 to x2 limits are given here, y into dx, okay. In this way, we can determine. So this is integration process. Now, okay, if we classify integration into two parts there, definite integration and indefinite integration. In case of definite integration, the limits are given generally. Integration process is indicated by the symbol elongated as definite integration. Definite integration in which limits are given or limits are applied. Such type of integrations are said to be definite integration. Suppose that x1 to x2 y ds means integrating this term with respect to x, y dx. So limits are there. So whatever may be the result in this case, we can say that this type of integration is the definite integration. Indefinite integration, in this type of integration, limits are not applied. And at the end of result, we add a constant. A constant is added in case of indefinite integration. If integration y dx is there, whatever may be result of this y dx, if we are getting result here y square by 2, okay, then in this case, after getting the result, we add one constant with the result, and in this way the indefinite integration is written there. So this is about the integration process, types of integration, okay. Now we are going to just discuss about the fundamental formulas of integration and some theorems related to it, but we see the simple formulas and theorems which are required for the derivation purpose of physics only. We use this, okay. I am going to just show you those formulas only related with the derivations, simple rules and simple theorems, okay. Let us go through the fundamental formulas of integration and theorems. Fundamental formulas and theorems. Number one, integration. We integrate all the formulas here we are writing with respect to x only, integrating with respect to x. 1 dx or dx is given to us, then we can get x result for this, okay, x result for this. Integrating 1 dx or dx with respect to x is integration is x. Second, we can say that integration x to the power n dx, where n is the integer, with respect to x we can get x to the power n plus 1 upon n plus 1, but the condition is that n should not be equal to minus 1. Here if we write minus 1 here, minus 1 plus 1 0, minus 1 plus 1 0, okay, something upon 0, that is infinite, okay. So here n should not be equal to minus 1 in this case. Third case, integration e to the power dx with respect to x will get e to the power x. Integration 1 by x or x to the power minus 1 dx will get log x, okay. Fifth term, we write here Fifth one, integration e to the power x dx. In this case, its result will be e to the power x, but here x, we have to differentiate x with respect to x here upon denominator, means upon this term, so its differentiation will be a. Okay. Similarly, integration of log sin x dx, we can say that minus cos x. Integration of sin ax dx, again ax is there, so its integration will be minus cos x upon differentiation of x with respect to x, will get a. Eighth one is integration of cos x dx sin x, integration of cos x dx sin x upon a. Similarly, we see the conditions here, 9 formulas are there. 10th one, how do we use this fifth one, e to the power x dx integration? Suppose that you have been given e to the power 4x dx, then its result will be e to the power 4x, differentiation of 4x with respect to x here will get 4, result will be 4. Okay. Similarly, suppose we take this case, 7th one, sin x dx is given to us, then suppose sin 5x dx is given to us, integration sin 5x dx, what will be, how will we solve it? According to this, minus cos x is there, so we write it minus cos 5x upon differentiation of 5x with respect to x, 5. Okay. In this way, the result will be minus cos 5x upon 5. In this way, we will have to solve this. Similarly, if we take the case of cos x, same thing you will have to write. Okay. Cos, integration of cos, suppose 4x dx with respect to x, sin 4x upon 4. Okay. In this way, we have to solve by applying these formulas. First second formula is there, x to the power n x 4 dx we have to find out. Second formula, x to the power n dx is equal to x to the power n plus 1 upon n plus 1, n plus 1 upon n plus 1, power is there, power is 4 here. What will be result? 4 plus 1 upon 4 plus 1, so we will get x to the power 5 upon 5. In this way, we can apply these formulas and we can determine the result for given questions. 9th one. Similarly, in case of 10th formula, sec square x dx integration, we can get 10x, just inverse of differentiation, integration of sec x 10x dx sec x, integration of cosec square x dx minus cot x, integration of cosec x cot x dx minus cosec x. These are the some important formulas required, okay, for the integration. We use these formulas and we can solve the problems related to it. Now, two theorems are there related with the integration process. What are those theorems? Let us go through them. Okay. Suppose number one theorem is that if you are asked to integrate the term Cu, number one, cu with respect to x, where u is the function of x. Then we leave this constant, c is a constant term, and differentiate, integrate u with respect to x. If you are asked to integrate this term u plus or minus v plus or minus w with respect to x, where u, v, w are the functions of x, okay, then what do we see that here in that particular case, what do we write here? We separately integrate them, okay, we integrate u dx plus or minus v dx plus or minus integration of w dx, okay, separately we can solve it, okay. In this way we can integrate this. Now these are some formulas and these are some result, okay, related with the integration process. Now we use these theorems, these two theorems are there and some formulas are there, we can use this in solving the problems related with integration. Now in case of applications, since we are just a completed motion in a straight line there, and we have derived the equations of motions by using the graphical method, one more method is there, that is the calculus method. By using the calculus method also we can derive the equations of motion. So let us go through this, okay, applications of integration process, how do we apply this, okay. So we are going to derive the equations of motions by using the calculus method. This is our next topic. Let us go through it. Derive equations of motion by calculus method, by integration method. How can we derive the equations of motions? Let us go through them one by one. Equation number 1 is supposed to be velocity attained by a particle after time t, okay, velocity attained by a particle after time t. After time t. Let us consider that if a particle is in motion and there is a change in the velocity, dv be the change in the velocity with respect to time dt, then what will be the acceleration of this particular particle? If particle is moving in a straight line, there may be change in the velocity, small change in the velocity of particle dv with respect to time dt. The acceleration of particle may be acceleration of particle will be a is equal to dv by dt. By the definition of acceleration, rate of change in velocity with respect to time, a is equal to dv by dt, or we can write this expression as a dt is equal to dv, or dv is equal to a dt. Let us suppose this is equation number 1. Now dv is equal to a dt is the equation number 1. We are going to integrate this equation both sides, okay, integrate both sides of equation. Integration of dv, which is equal to integration of a dt. A is a uniformly accelerated motion is there, a is a constant term, a will be out, a into dt, 1 dt is t, okay. Now here the result for dv will be v is equal to a into 1 dt will be t. Now since this type of integration is indefinite integration, so in that case we have to add one constant. So in the result of this integration we add one constant where k is a constant of proportionality, k is a constant. So this is supposed to be equation number 2. Now we suppose that if in this condition, if v is equal to u, initial velocity, and time t is equal to 0, okay, because at initial stage time t will be 0. If we place this value in above equation number 2, what will be the result? In place of t, 0 is there. If I place 0 here, it will be 0. In place of v, if I place u here, so u is equal to 0 plus k. It means that in equation 2 we get the result u is equal to k, means constant k is equal to u, that is the initial velocity of particle. Okay, we place the same value of k in equation number 2, putting value of k in equation number 2. Putting value of k in equation number 2, what do we get here? We place in place of k u here, we get v is equal to at plus u, or if we arrange these terms we can get v is equal to u plus at, and this is the required equation of motion, first equation of motion we can get. So this is the derivative part of first equation of motion by using the calculus method. Okay, now let us go through the next one, second equation of motion, displacement attained by particle after time t. Displacement attained by particle after time t. Second equation of motion, attained by particle after time t. Suppose that if the particle is in motion in straight line, okay, small change in the position of particle is dx after the time interval dt. In that case, what will be the velocity of particle? Then we can say that the velocity of particle v is equal to rate of change in position with respect to time, that is v is equal to dx by dt. We can get this expression as v dt is equal to dx, or we can write as dx is equal to v dt. Let us suppose equation number 1. First equation of motion says that v is equal to u plus at. So here final velocity v is there. We can place, since we know that v is equal to u plus at, we can place the value of v here in this equation number 1. What do we get? dx is equal to u plus at into dt. Let us suppose equation number 2. Now this is our equation number 2. We are going to integrate this equation both sides. So what do we do? Integrating both sides. Integrate both sides of equation number 2. Integration dx is equal to integration u plus at into dt. Finally, what do we get? Integration of 1 dx is equal to x. Now here separately we have to integrate u dt plus integration of at dt. At dt. A is a constant, it will be out. U is constant, it will be out. Okay. So 1 dt is t, u into t, plus A is constant out, t dt is what? T dt means x to the power n dx, t to the power 1 dt, it will be t to the power 1 plus 1 upon 1 plus 1. It means that t square upon 2. The result for this t dt is t square upon 2. So what do we write here? It will be a into t square upon 2. Now since this is an indefinite integration, we have to add one more constant here in the result of this. So equation, this will become the equation number 3. This will become the equation number 3. So we get equation number 3, x is equal to ut plus at square upon 2 plus k. Let us suppose equation number 3. Now we suppose that this is t square actually. We suppose that if at initial stage the position of a particle is x naught, when at initial stage the position of particle x becomes x naught, then time t was 0 at initial stage. So we place these values here in equation number 3, x will become x naught, this will be 0 into u, 0, this will be 0, 0 plus 0, 0, what is left? K. After applying this condition in equation number 3, what do we get? X naught is equal to k, means the constant is equal to k, k is equal to x naught. Again we put the value of k in equation number 3, what do we get here? We get x is equal to, put in equation 3, x is equal to ut plus half at square plus x naught. We transpose this x naught to LHS side. Transposing x naught to LHS side, what do we get here? X minus x naught is equal to ut plus half at square, and if we suppose that if x minus x naught is equal to displacement s, then our equation will become s is equal to ut plus half at square. This is the required equation of motion, and this is the second equation of motion. Okay. So first and second equation of motion we have derived. Let us go through the third equation of motion now. Okay. Equation number 3. Velocity attained by a particle after covering the displacement s. This is the statement of third equation of motion. Velocity attained by a particle after covering distance or displacement s. Let us suppose that there may be a small change in the position of particle while moving in a straight path, dx in time interval, small time interval dt, then rate of change in position with respect to time will be velocity, v is equal to dx by dt. v is equal to dx by dt. Let us suppose equation number 1. Multiplying and dividing RHS side, right hand side of equation 1 by rate of small change in velocity dv. What we are doing here? We are multiplying, dividing the RHS side of equation number 1 by dv. What do we get here? See here, v is equal to dx by dt into dv by dt, dv, multiplying and dividing both sides by v. So we can write this term as dx by dv into dv by dt. Can we write like this? dv upon dt, that is dv upon dt. dv upon dt is what actually? Rate of change in velocity with respect to time since acceleration. dv upon dt is there. We get this result as v is equal to a into dx by dv. Okay, in place of this dv by dt we can put a there, acceleration, so a into dx by dv, cross multiplying this term, v dv is equal to a into dx. Let us suppose equation number 2 now. This is equation number 2. v dv is equal to a into dx. Integrating both sides by of this equation, integrate both sides. When we integrate both sides, what do we get here? Integrating both sides v dv a dx. What will be the result of this? V to the power 1 dv, that is v square by 2. Okay, v square by 2. A is constant outside, 1 dx is equal to x, so ax. Then k is a constant. K is a constant here. Okay. Now, in this particular case, equation number 3, if we assume that at initial stage when x is equal to 0, then velocity v is equal to u, that is the initial velocity. Placing this value in equation number 3 there, what do we get here? In equation 3, we get u square by 2 and here 0 plus k. K is a constant. So, value of k is equal to u square by 2. Again put this value in equation number 3. Put in equation number 3. When we put the value of k is equal to u square by 2 here in equation number 3, what do we get? Let us write here. Putting the value of k u square by 2 in equation number 3, v square by 2 is equal to ax plus u square by 2. Constant k is equal to u square by 2. Transposing this term u square by 2 to LHS side, what do we get here? V square by 2 minus u square by 2, which is equal to x. Ultimately, we can write this u square, v square minus u square upon 2, which is equal to x. This equation will become v square minus u square is equal to 2ax. By cross multiplication there, we will get 2x, since x is equal to s, displacement of particle. We place this value, we will get v square minus u square is equal to 2as, which is the required equation of motion. So, this is the third equation of motion. Okay, velocity attained by a particle after covering the displacement s. V square minus u square is equal to 2s. In this way, we have derived the equations of motion by using the calculus method, integration method. So, that's all for today's topic now. We will continue next chapter in next lecture. Till then, all of you stay safe, stay healthy. Goodbye. Thank you.